What is up, guys? Kianbai here. MiHoYo has just officially announced the banners for Kokomi's character banner as well as the weapon banner associated with her. So I wanted to make this video to go over both these banners as well as if you guys should summon on this banner or the current banner going on right now. So for the character banner, the 4-star characters are going to be Xingqiu, Beidou, and Rosaria. Xingqiu is an excellent 4-star character to support a lot of different characters such as freeze teams or pyro vape teams. And Beidou is a very good character at Constellation 2 for electro characters to do a lot of arc bouncing, to do a lot of damage. Beidou has one of the highest off-field damages in the game. And Rosaria is a very good character as a cryo unit to be able to increase crit rate of allies as well as a good source of cryo for freeze or any sort of cryo application, or even reverse melt with using heavy pyro application with Rosaria as the damage dealer as well too. And if you have very high constellations, you could still even buff physical DPS units such as using something like Eula plus Rosaria for a cryo battery, as well as doing the minus physical resistance at Constellation 6. Now for Kokomi, if you guys are unfamiliar with her kit, she is a Hydro Catalyst user that is kind of designed to be a healer as well as a damage dealer in a slight sense. What I mean by that is her elemental skill will put down a jellyfish, which causes the allies to get healed, as well as the jellyfish will pulsate to deal damage, like so. And then her burst skill will do a Hydro burst damage and then give her an increase in damage to her auto attacks and her charge attacks. And the big problem that Kokomi runs into is that one of her passive abilities causes her to have minus 100% crit rate, which kind of mitigates her ability to be a damage dealer. And because of the minus 100% crit rate, a lot of people in the community have been calling Kokomi 5-star Barbara and saying she's not going to be very good or very worthwhile. But if you guys really like her, you guys can decide to pull for her and you guys will probably be able to make her work for you. Now let's go back to some of the 4-star characters, because those are really the shining characters that most people are going to be interested in. And a lot of people are interested in picking up Xingqiu Constellation or Xingqiu in general. I did say before, he's great on freeze teams and he's great on vaporized teams, and he's just a great character in general for off-field damage. His Constellation 1 is only going to make him gain an extra rain sword, which is his damage mitigator as well as his kind of heal mechanism. It's a nice constellation to have, but it's definitely not necessary because you usually pair Xingqiu with another healer or a shielder or something like that. Constellation 2 is going to be one of his bigger constellations, where it's going to increase his burst duration by 3 seconds and cause Hydra resistance down by 15% for 4 seconds each time the swords hit. It does not stack, but it is going to be a pretty good source of Hydra resistance down. I personally don't think it's absolutely necessary to get Constellation 2 because your duration is going to be 15 seconds. Without Constellation 2, and with Constellation 2, you'll be at 18-second duration with 20-second cooldown. You're usually running off on your allies using elemental skill burst skills to prepare for the next rotation. And during that time, you won't be using your auto attacks. And so it seems like a little bit of a dead buff, but it is still a definite increase in damage for anybody. Constellation 4 will make it so your elemental skill does more damage if you have your burst skill active. So some people use burst skill than elemental skill, especially if you have sacrificial sword. You'll do it 2 times over. And then Constellation 6 will cause you to have extra rain swords to do even more damage, and you'll regenerate energy every 3rd sword rain attack. For Xingqiu, I personally don't think you need to force yourself to go past C0. If you guys do get Constellation 2, it's definitely great, but I don't think you guys should summon specifically for Xingqiu if you guys aren't interested in the 5-star of the banner or any of the other 4-stars. If it is the case for you that you do want everything on the banner, that's going to be a great banner for you. Otherwise, I would definitely not go for Xingqiu here. When it comes to Beidou, her Constellation 1 is going to give her a shield, but the shield isn't a real big portion to your team unless you're running a taser comp without a healer such as Xingqiu, Beidou, Sucrose, Fischl. And Constellation 2 is where she really gains her damage because she can do 3 arc lightnings, but if she gains Constellation 2, she can end up doing 5, which is a lot more damage. And Constellation 3 will increase her skill level, and then Constellation 4 will cause her normal attacks, if she was a main DPS, to do electro damage, which is not super important, but it can be helpful if you are just trying to proc electro with her, even if she is a support. And Constellation 6 will reduce the electro resistance of enemies that are hit with the Stormbreaker. Now, Beidou is a great character, however, her team compositions are quite limited, especially with the lack of Raiden interactions. It has been limited even further with a lot of the meta team comps these days. If you guys do like her a lot, C2 is where I would stop at, and then everywhere else you can get a big boost down the line. However, I wouldn't really force it because C2 is her big turning point. So when it comes to Rosaria, she's a great character. However, constellations are really not that important because at Constellation 1, she increases her attack speed, which is great if you play her as main DPS, but most people play her as support. You can play her as a main DPS for permafreeze, either with Crescent Pike for physical or on a cryo conversion with Chongyuan, but it's not really that good. Constellation 2 will increase your ultimate duration by 4 seconds, which is very good because her ultimate lasts for 8 seconds, so it nearly increases it by 50% duration. Constellation 3 will increase the talent level, and then Constellation 4 will allow you to get 5 extra energies. This is only 5 energies, it's not 5 particles. Rosaria has a 60 energy cost, so it is helpful, but it is not absolutely necessary for you to pick up because it's a small boost to things. And Constellation 6 is the physical resistance down constellation, which can help you if you are pairing it with some sort of physical damage dealer, or if you are playing main DPS physical Rosaria once again. Ultimately, I don't think it's worth going for constellations on Rosaria. If you guys want to pick her up for 1 copy, that's definitely great. But if you are trying to run her on like a permafreeze type of team, or if you just want a little bit more damage, Constellation 2 is probably going to be your biggest point for an increase, especially if you are playing a reverse melt Rosaria. Ultimately, for new players, this banner is definitely great, but Kokomi isn't really going to be a good character for new players or veterans, in my opinion. We will see when she does come out. And getting a Xingqiu is definitely great, but Xingqiu already exists currently in the shop, so if you just summoned a bunch on the Xiangling Sucrose Raiden banner and all that, you would probably get Star Glitter to probably push you to be able to just get a Xingqiu, but at the same time, you can summon a little bit. But if you are very close to pity or like have guaranteed ready, I wouldn't really risk summoning on this banner for the 4-star characters because it's just not quite worth it with the risk of getting Kokomi. Now let's try to quickly talk about the weapon banner. For the 4-star weapons, it's going to be the Stringless Bow, the Flute Longsword, the Dragon's Bane Polearm, Favonius Codex Catalyst, and Favonius Greatsword Claymore. 5-star weapons is going to be the Primordial Jade Cutter, as well as the Everlasting Moon Glow, which is the new limited 5-star catalyst weapon. So let's first talk about the 4-star weapons. Stringless Bow is a definitely good weapon for support users. However, it's mostly only used on Venti and then partially used on Fischl. Everybody else, they usually have a better alternative. No character uses the flute. Plain and simple, period. It's a garbage weapon. Don't pull for it. Dragon's Bane is a good weapon for vaporized teams. It's not really great on other types of teams like Mono Pyro or Melt comps. And the catch exists now as a polearm that's free and you can get R5. So Dragon's Bane has definitely fallen immensely in the tier list of wants. Favonius Codex is kind of good, but I only ever really use it for Mona, and there's a lot different alternatives you can use instead of using Favonius Codex. You only really use Favonius Codex if your allies need energy, as well as you need more energy charge because you lack energy charge on your artifacts. The only other character that would really use Favonius Codex right now is Sucrose if you were trying to use her on like a freeze team, especially if you have C6 or like a mono character team such as Mono Pyro if you are lacking something like Venti or Kazuha. Because the EM that you would gain on some books like Sacrificial Fragments is not really necessary for Sucrose. You just want to spam the ultimate to group people together or to proc your Constellation 6 passive. Now for Favonius Greatsword is an energy recharge weapon that can help your allies gain energy, but at the same time you can just go use the Inazuma craftable energy recharge Claymore instead, or use Sacrificial Greatsword instead as well too. Now onto the 5-star weapons. Jade Cutter is a pretty good longsword, however Mist Splitter is oftentimes the better longsword for most characters. Jade Cutter is good on Xingqiu if you are running it with Raiden. However, is it really worth pulling Jade Cutter for Xingqiu unless you're a huge Xingqiu fan to be paired with Raiden? I personally don't think so, because if you are going to be using it on other characters other than Xingqiu, it's not very good, such as Ayaka. She's going to have too much crit rate. Kaching, Mist Splitter is just better. And if you were trying to use it as a 5-star weapon stat stick for something like Bennett, Primordial Jade Cutter only has 542 base attack, while something like Mist Splitter has 674 base attack. Aquila Favonia also has 674 base attack, and even Prototype Rancor, which is the 4-star craftable longsword or the free longsword that you get, has 565 base attack. So all in all, Jade Cutter is a fairly good weapon. However, I feel it is quite dwarfed by other weapons, and MiHoYo is going to be continuing to create power creep weapons over and over. So I personally wouldn't be pulling for this old school weapon that is only really best in slot for Xingqiu as of right now. Yes, you missed out on Mist Splitter and you won't be able to get it for another while time, but they'll probably come out with another power creep that's just better anyways. If you guys really want to go for this longsword, go for it. I can't stop you, I won't stop you, but at the same time, personally for me, I wouldn't summon for this unless you were a big credit card whale. Now for the new 5-star weapon of the Everlasting Moon Gold Catalyst. It is going to be an HP percent stat weapon, which gives at level 90 Refinement 1, 49.6% HP percent, as well as base attack, it gives 608 base attack. The passive will allow you to have healing bonus increased by 10%, and normal attack damage increased by 1% of your max HP of the character equipping this weapon. For 12 seconds after using an elemental burst, normal attacks that hit opponents will restore 0.6 energy. Energy can be restored this way every 0.1 seconds. Now, it's not entirely explained if this normal attack damage is increase by 1% of max HP is a percentage increase or if it's a flat increase. However, if you look in game, there's another character that has a very similar wording text for Zhongli's Ascension passive, where it says normal charge attack and plunging attack damage is increased by 1.39% of max HP. Now, for Zhongli, it is a flat add-on and not a percentage increase for his hits dealt. Ultimately, I think this Catalyst is a very niche weapon, really designed for Kokomi to be a better healer as well as kind of a damage dealer, but you can kind of see this is her attack animation here on screen. She throws out 3 fish, and it's not like a very fast move set. Obviously, this is slowed down in slow-mo to show animations, but she doesn't attack very fast like Zhongli or Yoimiya would. So either you pull for this weapon for Kokomi because you really love Kokomi a lot and want her ideal or paired weapon, or you end up using Dueling Tales as Dragon Slayer for her to give a 48% attack buff for an ally. So real quick TLDR on the weapon banner, I don't think the weapon banner is worth summoning on at all unless you are a huge fanatic for some of the characters that exist in the game and just want to pair their best weapon with it. I don't think it's a very good value pick to summon on this weapon banner for 4 stars or 5 stars. And for character banner, the 4 stars are great and all, but for the risk of getting Kokomi if you don't want her is just far too high to make me want to go for it. Constellations on these characters are also not really necessary other than like C2 Beidou, but using Beidou is kind of a niche area as well too in this game at this point. All right, that's gonna be all from me for this video. Hopefully you guys learned something and decided if you guys want to summon on either of these banners. Make sure you guys leave a like, comment down below what you guys think about these banners. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube for more Genshin guides and Genshin content. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/KeonPie for live account reviews, Abyss help, Genshin content, and giveaways. Make sure you guys join the Discord to be part of our Genshin Impact community, as well as gain people to play with and get help from. Make sure you guys follow the Twitter for Genshin updates, Genshin Primo gem codes, giveaways, etc, etc. Make sure you guys also follow me on TikTok for short Genshin clips, as well as make sure you guys follow me on Instagram if you guys want to see my life outside of content creation as well too. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace.